This is it. This is Coloma, Montana, with myself, Mr. Dan Ruitt, and the Duke. Just pulled up. How's it going, brother? How's it going, man?
Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, man. Good to see you. And say hello to everybody, Duke.
Hi, everybody. We're here in Coloma.
This is Dan Pruitt.
Hey, Dan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we are up here on top of the world in Duke's neck of the woods. And again, we'll just keep streaming as much as we can.
We still had
I'm Michael.
Still
Michael,
got
nice
part
to
of the
meet you,
team
Michael.
to show up. Michael here is a regular member of my research team.
Oh, okay. I might have talked to you. before.
Travis over there also is, and one of the other ones I'm not sure is going to be able to make it, but we still got 3-4 more people to show up here yet.
Okay, so it's going to be a full boat here, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. So, again, Dan and I are going to do some scouting around, figuring out how we're going to approach this, because as you can see, the buildings are kind of all over the place. The old buildings.
Over 80 buildings here.
Over 80 buildings up here, and they're all in states like that. And it's, you know, it's actually a tragedy, but once the community folded, once they found they weren't getting the gold, they just kind of packed up and left. And this is what's left. A very active area. Very active area. Apparently this area is very haunted. Apparently there's a lot of Sasquatch activity up here. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, so there could be several things we're working with tonight. I'm not sure about the sky. It looks a little overcast, so I don't know how much ambient light we're going to get from the moon or any help, but we will have a campfire going. They got a campfire going over there in the distance, and perhaps at some point we'll just sit around the campfire, meet everybody, and talk to everybody as much as we can. How you guys doing?
Big Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. Not only bringing you some of the best researchers and weirdest encounters on the planet, but also getting our own boots on the ground and butts in the field and actually doing something. And we're bringing you the wrap up for the just happened not very long ago, as in when I'm recording this, less than 2 weeks. Top of the continent, Big Sky expedition here in Montana to go look for Bigfoot, which of course we found them, and lots of other cool stuff, including little people and ghosts. And this is a 3-day thing. We have 3 days of it to cover, multiple guests that were there. We're going to be interviewing as many as possible, sharing what they saw, sharing what they took pictures and video of, and sharing their general impressions of the whole thing. And before we get into that, a few reminders to everyone. If you need to contact me, you can get me at duke@worldbigfootcentral.com. If you have a cryptid report that you need to make and somebody to talk to and tell your sighting to, whatever kind of cryptid it is, if it's scared you really bad, we have a cryptid report hotline. Deb is manning the phones, and that designated number is 503-662-2678. And if you want to support the show and you're an old beat up field researcher that's got lots of aches and pains and needs CBD oil, I got you covered. Go to myctfocbd.com/Duke Sullivan and get all the CBD products that you need. A small portion of it goes to help fund this program. And if you want to help fund this program directly, you can PayPal us because we are entirely viewer funded. And you, the mighty viewers that are awesome enough to send in some donations, or we keep the show coming to you. So please feel encouraged and so inclined, if you will, to do so and help us continue to bring the show to you. And that is at paypal.me/World Bigfoot Central. And with that, let me bring on the first guest, who is going to be on this cavalcade of boots on the ground, crazy researchers. And this is the guy that rarely gets out of the studio. I'm glad we talked him into showing up for this one, because he had a good time. And he doesn't normally have much of anything to do with Bigfoot, although he's had Bigfoot encounters. And you heard him on the show and saw his stuff before here. And of course, I am referencing the host of the Paranormal Portal on YouTube and every podcast network in the universe, except Stitcher. Brent Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hey, brother. Thanks for having me on. I'm really glad to be here. And a special thank you for making me able to be a part of the whole top of the world expedition there. That was really incredible.
Yeah, that was, I was really happy that it came together and we had the freakish weather that we had for it, because normally this time of year it's really super hot. The state is burning down. There's a ban on having campfires. Air is filled with smoke. You can't see 2 blocks. You can't camp in half the state because it's burning down. So it was like a really, really great year for this, because, hey, mid-August, the weather was cool. I mean, we had, really exceptionally cool wet summer. Global warming. Yeah, we had a really cool wet summer, like the coldest, wettest in 40 years. We didn't even get our summer until the middle of July, so we had only been into summer like a month by the time we had this, and it still kept raining off and on. And so, yeah, we didn't have anybody collapsing from heat stroke, and we didn't have any problems with forest fires. You could see a long ways, and you took advantage of that, Mr. Livestream. Great job there.
Oh, thank you, man. That was really cool. It was a really cool place. I was only a part of the Coloma part of the expedition, but as you guys went to two locations, one of which being the Coloma ghost town area, and it was just really incredible. I went up there on kind of a wing and a prayer approach to this, because the idea to stream it, of course, was really exciting to me, but it's a whole different animal to think about something and want to do something and then to actually do it. I mean,
yeah,
there's so many factors that we couldn't understand and couldn't prepare for. It was just going to be kind of like, hey, I'm going to show up and push live and just hope for the best. And it actually worked out much better than I thought. We also did record some footage that is yet to be released. But as far as the live streaming went, it was exceptionally pretty good. There were some areas that were tough, and we'd have drop-offs here and there, but after I kind of got a feel for where to go and where I would get a signal, it really went smoothly. And it was also really great to have an opportunity to meet yourself, Caveman, and Kevin, and Kat, and Wayne, and Galen, and your crew as well. I mean, it was just such a great group of people. It was just an honor.
Yeah, they got to be pretty mild-tempered in order to be able to put up with me, so that makes for a good crowd. The other thing is that it was just a neat experience for me to have a chance to meet you finally, too, because I like your show.
Oh,
and
yeah.
As some people know, I'm actually a mod in your chat on your show, so anytime you guys want to go check out his show, which, by the way, is at 7 Pacific time on YouTube, 7 days a week, plus the guy does 3 podcasts, making a grand total of 10 shows a week. Come on, give this guy some support. What are you waiting for? That's a backbreaking schedule. I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. Come on. Well, only Brent can do this kind of schedule. And so he deserves your support and maybe even adoration. But, hold off on that until you check his show out. Anyway, it was great having you up there and finally getting a chance to meet you, brother. And another thing for people that maybe haven't seen it and aren't aware of it, that are fans of my channel and don't watch Paranormal Portal normally, he did a live stream, which is what we're referencing. So it's in his catalog on YouTube. Go check out Paranormal Portal, and you'll see it, the live stream from Coloma. And Brent actually beat me there. Him and Dan and most of the team were there before I even managed to show up fashionably late. So he's doing the live stream at the point where I show up. So if you guys are wondering, gee, I wonder what happened when Duke showed up. Well, he's got it on video. That's what happened.
It was there live and in action. It was really cool to meet you too, brother. You know, you and I have known each other and become great friends just over the net, but it was really fantastic to be able to hang out and get a chance to chat and you know, tour this whole area with you. It was just phenomenal.
I'm glad I got a chance to tour you through part of it. There are parts of it we wanted to show you that we had already, our expedition was going down the mountain as you guys were coming back up the next day. So we missed you on that one, unfortunately, but it looks like you had plenty to do anyway, so no big deal, and it'll give you something to check out next year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we had a few Bigfoot things happen while we were up there. They were definitely around. But since we had so many people there, they weren't very active. They were staying off in the background for the most part. And then when we got up to the other place that we were going to, it didn't seem to matter because we were right at the junction of three valleys in the middle of a mountain range. And they were kind of like assumed that they were in charge and we were interlopers, which definitely we were.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different situation there. They weren't having any problems with making noise in the middle of the day, whooping at our camp from across the river in the afternoon, and yeah. So that was a lot more hair raising. But Coloma was hair raising in a different way, and what you were there mostly was for the paranormal part of it. And
right.
You know, just give everybody that didn't see the live stream yet sort of what was your impression when you finally drove up there and saw the place and started walking around.
Well, you know, I think anytime you drive to the top of a mountain, it is just such an incredibly spectacular and I don't know, amazing feeling because you're essentially just on top of the world, and I don't know, it just comes with such an awe-inspiring feeling to be up on top of a mountain, but then to be surrounded by all this history, all of these old cottages and cabins that, you know, were homes. I mean, and, you know, it just really, there's several prongs of this. And one is that you kind of realize how decadent we are nowadays versus, you know, back in those days. I mean, they had one room and, you know, that was home. That was home. That was their whole existence inside of those walls, was one huge room with the log walls and scratching a living out of the, you know, it'd have to be one of the most roughest places to be, being a mining encampment and such.
A mile up on a mountain in Montana where the winters aren't particularly nice.
Yeah. But to be surrounded by all that history on top of a mountain, seeing the megalithic stones standing up there, it was just, you know, it's just a humbling experience, I think, because, you know, I don't get out a whole bunch in my entire life. Actually, you know, I'm kind of a homebody. I'm a hermit in most cases. And so it was really neat to get out there, be in the environment. And as much as you try to portray that on a camera, it just still just pales so far in comparison to standing there and being there. And, you know, as we were going through the place, it was just, I don't know, it was just so incredible to see all these pieces of this history and tragedies where, you know, it was a location of several tragedies and a lot of mystery surrounding what happened there, because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of idea of what happened. It just kind of folded up with, like, you know, Garnett, the other ghost town that's not too far away from there. They got every piece of history, you know, including birth and death records.
Yeah.
But
they know down to the exact gram how much gold is extracted from that ghost town 4 miles away.
Yeah.
But they don't know anything about Coloma.
Yeah. Yeah, then that's really peculiar. So there was that real air of mystery on top of it all. But it's just such a beautiful area on top of that. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're on top of a mountain like that, looking over just dozens and, you know, maybe 20 or 30 miles of valleys below you stretching out to the, you know, the farthest horizon is just, it's just awesome. And when you look at a situation like that, you know, for a lot of people out there listening, it seems really hard to believe that there could be these 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tall giants lumbering around still remaining hidden. But when you're standing up on a mountain, looking over, 30 or 40 miles of valley, forested valleys and mountains surrounding you, it's like, my God, you could hide Godzilla in there.
Yeah. And judging by that X structure we found, we may know where he is.
Yeah. But it's hard for people in their homes, in their suburban communities, to really grasp how broad a scope those areas are. They are just so immense, so large. The tree, the density of the foliage. I mean, God, you could drive a tank through there and nobody would know it was there. It's just incredible. So once you get out there and once you feel that situation and look at the majesty and grandness and the immense scope of it all, I mean, hell, there could be everything out there, and it wouldn't surprise me even a little.
Yep. Yeah, that I've been up to that place a number of times now, starting back in 2015, and every time I just get, two things impress me about it: sort of a mournful grandeur and a really creepiness. Yeah, it is. When you're walking around the skeletons of all those cabins, and by skeletons, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if you haven't seen the images of them, there's really only one structure still erect and standing. Everything else is in several degrees of collapse and decay. And so you see, the husks of these cottages, but the one that's still standing, you can get an idea for how meager and how simple their lives were in comparison. And I don't mean simple, but by saying that it was less complex, but I mean simple in that they were focused on survival. Yeah. We in our lives are focused on comfort and pay-per-view and Amazon and going out to dinner and hitting a drive-through, and they were scratching all that day to day out of their surroundings. Yeah, and the main building that we camped next to, which is habitual now since we camped there next to it in 2015, and at that point it was still standing. It was like a story and a half, you could almost say 2-story, and it was actually made out of milled lumber, as I pointed out on the live stream there. That was the only building in town. Oh, that was where the mayor or the guy who was in charge of the mine, the richest guy in town, was living. If you took the entire floor space on that, both stories, you would still have to probably triple that to equal my dinky little 2-bedroom apartment.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And this was the richest guy in town. So yeah, we are incredibly rich and spoiled and decadent compared to what these people were living through. But I mean, if you think about it, if you haven't got electric heat or anything like that, you don't want a giant space because you got to heat it somehow during the winter. And on top of that mountain, it's winter a lot of the time, like most of the year. Even during the summer when we were there, it wasn't particularly warm.
Oh no, it was plenty cold. Yeah.
So you want to have, thick structures, small interior size so that you can heat it pretty well with, a wooden fireplace, which is of course what they're using. They're just burning wood.
Right.
So, unless you had tons and tons of creature comforts that you needed to put somewhere, which they just didn't have, they're mostly mine workers, for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was, the structures are small. There's like one person staying in a cabin, or maybe there's two, or maybe it's a guy with his wife and they have like one kid or something. But I get the impression with Coloma that when it came to the point where they were actually like thinking about creating families or something, that they may have just moved somewhere else. And that was like almost exclusively a mining town. And I get that mostly from looking at the footprint size of the buildings. And if you go over and look at Garnett, there's some actually bigger buildings because they had like a town center. They had stores and stuff. And that seems to be absent from Coloma.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And perhaps they just wagon trained everything over from Garnett. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that was.
And that's the other interesting thing, because the main outpost, which is, the railroad hub nearby, was in the valley 9 miles away. And Coloma was only 7 miles from it. And Garnett was 11 miles from it.
Yeah.
So Coloma was closer.
And the other thing that occurred to Dan, especially, Dan was my paranormal investigator friend that came with. He said, when you're driving up there, you have to imagine we're driving through cut roads and paved roads for a good section of the way. Then it turns to dirt roads, but they're still very navigable. But back then there might have been just 2 ruts through a forest.
Yeah, that's what it was.
How did they get all the way up there. How did they? I mean, how did
Yeah.
they get mining equipment up there and stuff? Even later, it's just like, my God.
Did you go up the road past where Coloma was? Because the stagecoach shack is still preserved, and that's where people would go to catch the stagecoach that was coming up over the top of the mountain to hit that Garnet and Coloma.
Wow. No, we went as far as the cemetery, the other way, and then we just Coloma in that cemetery area. That was it for our grand exploration, and of course the abandoned hunting shack up there.
Yeah. Well, we got a story with Travis coming up about how somebody didn't like him up there and escorted him back down again.
Ooh.
And there was somebody that smelled like poopy. So you guys guess who that might be?
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were up there kind of around, him and Galen were up there around dark, and we told them not to wander up there, and then like Travis kind of found out why.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they had somebody following them through the woods on the way back. They could hear the footsteps and smell the stank, and
Was
Travis
this-
actually saw it he was standing up on the far side of the hunting shack looking down into the trees in between like where that is and where the camp is, and he could see something popping up through the trees and then popping back down again.
Oh,
And it did it like 3 or 4 times, and he's like, "Hey, Galen, do you see this?" And he turned around, and Galen wasn't there.
Oh, gee.
And then he decided maybe he should catch up to Galen.
That was on Friday night?
Yep, that was when we were up there on Friday night.
Oh, see, I hadn't even heard about that. That's incredible. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. When we were the first night, we kind of treated Friday like a meet and greet night. Dan and I did, and we got to meet all you guys and got the lay of the land and scoped everything out. And after all that hiking around and stuff, my studio body was kind of shot. So we all just kind of sat around the campfire and talked, and the stories were just amazing. The caveman was sharing, and everybody was sharing stories, and it was really fun. It was just such a neat, warm experience.
And everybody will get to experience it because we did actually videotape that, and that will be released.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Good. I'm glad, because I would definitely like to have to see that.
Yeah.
Again. I mean, it was just such a neat experience, but I was so dog tired. I mean, literally. Now, Dan and I, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't stay up in the mountains. Duke and his whole crew stayed up there and camped up there, but Dan and I had all these electronics and stuff, and so we stayed down at a hotel in Missoula. And I gotta tell you, by the time we got down there, actually on Friday night, we hadn't really eaten the whole day. So we got back into town, went to a Denny's, bigged out, and then we went back to the hotel room and just collapsed. It was just like we were both just puddles of flesh for about the next several hours, just melted into beds, because it just takes everything out of you. It really did.
that Denny's is literally 2 blocks from where I'm sitting right now. It's like right close.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, you're right. We're sitting at 3,200 feet here in the valley floor, and you start getting up 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet, and even if you're used to this, it's still like, there's not enough air. Why am I getting tired so easy?
Well, yeah, and I'm mildly asthmatic too, so it was like a double dip. It was like, oh my God. So it was really incredible, and I was so sore. And we came up the next day, and that's when we treated as our hardcore investigation day. And of course, we passed each other. We were coming up the mountain. You guys were going down to go to your second location, and we got up there, and the first thing that we did was we investigated the cemetery. And now I from what I understand, the cemetery was relocated, but they kept 5 graves there. Is that right?
I think there's still some graves left in Coloma proper somewhere. Somebody showed me a picture of them, so I know they're there, but I haven't been able to figure out where it is exactly.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So we set up Dan's equipment there, and it was really cool. And this will be released on one of the videos I got forthcoming yet, but we were looking at the headstones, and one of the names was William something, and I don't remember the names. That's my personal dyslexia as names. But and Dan's going, is William so and so here? And there's this pause, and then through the equipment comes Bill. So he didn't go by William, he went by Bill. So Bill was there with us, but we didn't get a whole lot of communication up there at the cemetery, with just a little bit and a few things here and there. Something said be careful, and and all that. And
Did they warn you about the Bigfoot, or what were they?
nobody gave us any hint about that, but
It just said be careful.
it just said be careful. And it was, so then after that location, then we went and drove back to the old abandoned hunting lodge way back on that really crappy road, where it's basically more of a dry run than a crappy road, even, because it's just ruts and rocks. But we drove back in there, got up to the old hunting lodge, and we set up in there. And the investigation there was really intense, because throughout the day, before we had, kind of metered everything out, I hadn't really figured out what I had for signal over there, because I wanted to stream that. And all through the day, I had two solid bars in that whole area, inside the hunting cabin and outside of it and around it. But so we started out. I was in there starting out. All of a sudden, my reception starts dropping. It's getting dark. The darker it got, it was like a blackness filled that whole hunting lodge, and it was like an unnatural darkness. And what else happened was that all my bars disappeared inside of that cabin. I could no longer stand inside of that cabin, so I had to be outside the door filming in to see Dan and the equipment, trying to keep that on camera. And as it got darker, the darkness inside the cabin, of course, got thicker. And he said he felt like there was someone in the corner just glaring at him the whole time. And we got so many responses, and then finally at the end, it said, "Get out." So Dan said, "Do you want us to leave?" And it said, "Leave." And so we're like, okay, we kept our word. We packed it up, but then going from there, and it was really, really intense there. And one thing happened when we were at that cabin, that hunting lodge, was that I'm outside. I got my back to everything. I'm just facing this doorway. And I've got two sides of the cabin on my left and my right. I can't see around, and it's all dark, and there's all kinds of just ominous feeling everywhere. I feel like I'm being watched like 15 different ways, and I've got my back to everything. So I'm feeling absolutely exposed. I'm not like in the cabin where I could watch a door or something. I'm out there, and so I'm always looking over my shoulder, and I'm sitting there filming, and all of a sudden we Dan and I both hear like that, and it sounded like someone was running up the road behind me. And oh my God, I spun on a dime just like that, boom. And Dan's like, "Oh my God, is someone running up the road?" And I was like, "I don't know, I think so." And I'm looking around, and I can't figure out where it's coming from. There's nothing on the roads. There's nothing anywhere around. And then I heard the sound again, but it was coming from above me. And I look up, and I don't know what the hell kind of birds these were, but they had the loudest damn wings I've ever heard. And when they flapped, they would sound like it sounded like running on gravel. It was just like, oh my God. I just about stroked out right there. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And we both realized what it was, and then it was fine. But it did get intense. It got really intense there. So we got told to leave. And so, we don't ever push it. The form of investigation we do isn't to try to provoke and piss things off, right? Because that's how you end up with real problems.
Well, I got to tell you before you go away from the shack here, I was the first person on my team that actually discovered that thing was sitting over in that little back canyon.
Yeah.
And I brought him over there and showed it to him, and nobody was that interested in looking at it or anything. But I've been over there subsequently several times, and I noticed that every time you open the door and you look inside, it gives you this feeling like the camping cabin in The Evil Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that you just feel like you're all alone in the whole world. Yeah. And now, the other part of it is that's really hard about this investigation. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been involved in the paranormal community for quite a long time. I don't have a lot of investigations under my belt. However, I'm just mostly an enthusiast, and I do a paranormal show. I've lived in many haunting situations, as you may have heard, through different appearances I've made. I've had lots of haunting situations, but this is my, one of my first real hardcore, real investigations. And I got to tell you, all of those times when you're sitting at home and if you watch like Ghost Adventures or something, it looks like, oh, that'd be really creepy. But when you're there and you're blanketed in blackness. You're feeling like you're exposed to everything. And the intensity of those moments is just so amazingly overwhelming. I honestly didn't get scared, except that startled me when I heard that running up what I thought was running. And then to hear die come through a few times on the equipment was a little creepy, but for the most part, I wasn't really scared. What really concerned me more than anything was not only were we in a very haunted location, known for Bigfoot activity, but there's also bears and mountain lions and stuff. And the idea that there were so many things that could go sideways, in that situation. It's not like a general paranormal investigation where, you got to watch out. The spirits may get aggressive, or you might get a demon or something like that. It's like you've got that, and then you've got bears, and then you got mountain lions, and then you got Sasquatch that may not want you there. And all of those things stacked on top, not to mention puckwudgies or whatever those little
Well,
people.
that'd be the Narumbi there, but they're like only in second place behind the puckwudgies on the avoid these guys scale.
So the night is closing in, and all those things are going through my mind. So everything you hear is just like, magnified 100-fold, because you've got to cope with all that at the same time as doing a cohesive investigation. So I'm actually really proud of myself, because I think I did pretty good, all things considered. But we did finally move away from the hunting cabin, and it was really getting black now. It's really getting dark. And, you have to remember, not only are we in that situation with all those liabilities around, but we are miles from any help. We're on top of a mountain alone. There's nobody anywhere near. If I screamed, bloody murder, nobody would hear it. There would be nobody that could respond. So that you're in that situation all the way out there alone Dan was there, thank God, because I certainly wouldn't have done it alone. But it's just the gravity of those situations is so intense,
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing to hear a story about it, but it's a totally different thing to actually be there.
Right.
That's a totally different can of worms.
Right. And it's even one thing to be watching it on your little TV while you're surrounded by your, comforts and luxuries and remote controls. But when you're there and you're like, if anything goes wrong, we're in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
So,
we're screwed. We don't have a whole film crew that are hanging around here protecting us,
Yeah, exactly. So there's not like 15 people with boom mics and mixers behind the scenes. It's just Dan and I up there on this haunted area all by ourselves. So then we go into the Coloma proper area where, that same area you guys were camping. And being in that, out in that hunting lodge, you're kind of out and alone, but it's open. It's open area. So like there's sky and you can still see silhouettes to a varying degrees. So you don't feel like everything's pressing in on you as much. The blackness is really heavy, but you still feel like, well, there's room. You got more room. When we went down to Coloma proper and all those trees are around, you're just so encapsulated and everything's squeezing in. The darkness becomes like it has a texture to it almost, because it's so heavy. And we're down there and we're doing the ghost apps again. Got some amazing stuff. We actually got almost more during the day when we did the day investigation there. We got a lot of more voice activity during the day than we did at night, but we had weird things. Now Dan was using a tool based off of Steve Huff's portal design, but it uses just a random sound generator. It's got consonants and phonics, and sometimes they're reversed, sometimes they're forward. So it's just these random noises. And it works on the theory, and if anybody's really into the paranormal, you can look into it. It's called stochastic resonance. And it's the idea that spirits can manipulate the sounds coming out, random sounds, and reshape those sounds to become words that we can recognize. Well, we're getting all these different words. We get contact with a spirit named Brad, and what we believe was his son, because we kept hearing this little child screaming, calling out, "Daddy, Daddy," through the equipment. We got this Brad guy coming through. We've got other voices coming through. We also were getting, over at the hunting cabin, actually, I forgot to mention this, we got a weird sound that shouldn't even have been possible, but it was something going bang through the equipment, like bang, bang, and in my mind I got this, this picture of someone pretending to point a gun at us going bang, bang, and then dye comes through the mic. It's like, oh my God. But over at the Coloma proper, we also got this really seductive moaning of this woman, like in an intimate situation kind of moaning that came through, which shouldn't have been possible. And we got this woman that was mourning, and just the pain in her cries was just heartbreaking. And it was just so intense. And again, ladies and gentlemen, those videos are up on Paranormal Portal page on YouTube, and they're the Coloma investigation series of videos. There's 3 of them that are there right now. There will be 2 more that are pre-recorded, but just some really intense, incredible experiences.
Well, the fact that you were doing it live is even cooler.
It really was, and we have an amazing group of listeners to our live shows, and they were just enthralled and captivated, and really, honest to God, it made me feel so much less alone having them there. It was just, even though they're all, all over the nation, around the world, just knowing they were there, it felt like there was like a cocoon of energy with us, that we weren't really all alone, even though they were there in a sense. And also, they caught some really cool stuff that we couldn't catch. And the reason that I don't think we could catch it all was because as you're there in the dark and you're at a haunted location with Bigfoot and bears and mountain.
You're busy rubbernecking in every direction, trying to make sure something isn't going to sneak up and kill you.
My head was on a swivel, Duke. I was just looking every direction, just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So any little rustle, and we're both whipping our flashlights out. Dan's got night vision going all over the place. I got my night vision binoculars and looking all over, and it's just really intense. But that same night, we had some really cool northern lights. The Aurora Borealis came through.
Oh, so. Nice. I hope you got some video.
No, I couldn't get that on video. It was too faint. It wasn't real pronounced, but it was there. So
pretty cool.
It was really a magical experience. The whole thing was amazing. And Dan and I both, back at the hotel after all this, said, we should do this yearly. And I was like, yep, we should. It was Dan's idea. He's like, we should do this annually. I'm like, you know what? We should. And we will. So it's definitely on our annual list if you'll have us.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you guys should be having the annual outing in Coloma. That's a ghost town. That's your thing. You're the paranormal and haunting guy. And there's even a portal there at the megalith, so you can investigate that.
Right. Yeah, that's and that footage, ladies and gentlemen, is on that stream as well, that first day stream of the megalithic sites. And there's this flat stone, and it looks like people have had fires on there, so it looks like an altar of some kind. Yeah. A
few years ago, there were trees around it too. Again, somebody cut those down. They had grown up, and I don't know if they thought they were going to mess around with the stone's placement or something. They cut them down, but whatever. So there's activity up there. People come in and do weird things and leave again.
Oh, sure.
But as far as the hunting shack goes, it's kind of interesting that this thing is still intact. It's still got a roof on it and everything. It's just an abandoned hunting shack. If it was anywhere else, you could just walk in and go, oh, I'm going to camp here for the night. What a nice, comfy old hunting shack. But there's something just really creepy about this place. And I mean, honestly, I would be more inclined to throw my backpack on the ground in the ruined log cabins than I would try and sleep in that place.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't camp out in there. Hell, Dan and I both were like, yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah. There's even 2 of us here, and this place is really creepy, and yeah, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. After that, I had to do the final sweep in there to make sure we had all the equipment, because Dan was packing everything away. He's like, "Hey, you want to go back in there and just check and make sure we got everything?" And I'm like, "Sure."
No, I don't really. Can you do it?
Can we just say we did it?
Yeah, can we say we did it and hope everything's there when we get back?
Yeah, exactly. Well, nowhere to come back if it's not. Yeah, I know. It's really terrible. But, it's just thick in there. It was just thick. But it was just a great experience. And I wouldn't have traded any of it for the world. I mean, it was just so much fun. An amazing setting, an amazing area. And, just a wonderful opportunity. And, honestly, it was really cool that we had a chance to kind of meld our worlds together, between the Bigfoot world and the paranormal world. And some of the discussion points were really cool, and it seems like there could be a very natural overlap between the two, just in terms of research techniques and stuff. I think that both sides could learn a hell of a lot from each other.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, that we can actually start getting these two communities to collaborate a little bit, because let's face it, there's cryptids that are definitely leaning way, way, way heavily into the paranormal and supernatural spectrum.
Right.
And there's stuff that ghost hunters go and investigate, or like, oh, we've been hearing these ghosts howling out at the old abandoned barn. Those are Bigfoot.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, there's definite overlap there. And you and me joke about it because we encounter that kind of stuff. I'll hear you reading a ghost story going, sounds like a Squatch to me.
Yeah, I've said that very thing many times when I'm reading ghost stories on the show. It's like, no, that's not a ghost. They're meeting a Sasquatch.
Yeah, the ghost was just slapping the side of our house and knocking our log pile over, and it was howling over by the barn.
It was throwing stones at us and growling. It's like,
yeah.
I don't think that's a ghost.
Exactly. I do believe you have a same scratch on your hand.
Yeah, exactly. So very cool. But we were just honored to be there, and thank you so much for making that possible for us. And I hope you guys listening will come over and check out some of those videos if you don't mind. I mean, I'm not here lobbying for my channel. I'm here because I just.
Well, I am. I'm here lobbying for your channel. So all my listeners and you guys that are interested, get over there and check it out, because Brent does a really good job, and this is really cool because he, like I said, he broadcasts all the time, like every freaking day, and he hardly ever gets a chance to get out in the field and do a live field broadcast and then actually doing research in the same place. And it was all spectacularly successful and super cool. So if you want to see some Ghostbusters that actually find some freaking ghosts, go check his stuff out.
Amen, brother. Well, thank you again. And it's just been a great pleasure. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me to be a part of it.
It was just a great honor and a pleasure to have you there too, brother. I like your show. I'm a mod in your chat, and try and catch all of them that I can. If I'm not out squatching somewhere, I'm checking out the Paranormal Portal for sure. It's always fun. And you have such a great crew in there. You got so many great people in chat, and they're such, so friendly and nice to each other. And I've never seen a chat room like that before, where like as soon as somebody comes in, everybody in chat has to say hi to them.
No, it's like cheers.
I know, it is. It practically is like cheers. Wouldn't you like to go to a chat room where everybody knows your name and they're all going to say hi when you come in? Yeah. Well, that's the Paranormal Portal chat room. Come check it out.
Well, that's, I wish I could take a lot of credit for that, but honest to God, the people in there have created that, and it's just an honor. And mods like yourself and Julia and Diana and Lady Death, before. So a lot of people have really been instrumental in creating that amazing atmosphere.
And we got everything in there too, folks. I don't want you to get the idea that this is strictly just a paranormal woo-woo thing. We got UFO people, we got ghost people, we got Bigfoot people, we got cryptid hunters, everything that you can think of. It's well represented. A lot of the people in chat actually have their own channels and shows, and just like to hang out on Brent's for some reason.
I know, it's really wild. It's really humbling, actually. That's really cool.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and everybody is encouraged to come check it out and join in if it's something that you enjoy. Like I said, 7 nights a week, 7 p.m. Pacific, Paranormal Portal with Brent, and sometimes with Don when he gets to show up a few times a week. And Don's a hoot and awesome, and you guys will really love him too. And hopefully we'll drag his bearded butt out in the field and get him to go Bigfoot hunting next year. Next
year he'll come. We'll drag him. We'll hijack him or kidnap him or something. But we'll get him there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take him up to where Bigfoot makes skyscrapers, and they are skyscrapers.
That'll be awesome.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, brother. Again, it was great, and looking forward to doing future collaborations with you coming up in the not too distant time yet to come.
Yeah, amen, brother. I'm game. Just let me know.
All righty. And with that, let's get on to the next guest on tonight's show. We're going to be coming up next talking to one of my own research team members, Travis, who was with me when we did Coloma 2018 last August when it was way too hot. and there was a burning ban on, and we couldn't have a campfire, and we had to sit in the middle of a ghost town without a campfire. That was creepy. And that's coming up next.
All right.
Thanks, Brent.
Hey, anytime, brother. It's my pleasure.
Alrighty, let's get on over to Travis. So next up, we've got Travis on the show, who is a regular on my research team. He's been going out with us for a while now, and he was actually at Coloma last year for our expedition up there to mid-August 2018. It was hot, and of course, the usual year, it was everything was on fire. So there was a burning ban, and we couldn't actually have a campfire, which made it extra creepy to be up there at night. And last year we didn't get a chance to actually interview Travis about anything that happened there last year, so I figured we'd kind of go back and cover some of the ground on that, because there was a bunch of activity. Right when he came in, he found a snap about 9 foot above the road, and then him and Jeff set up over far away from where the rest of us were set up, thinking that maybe Bigfoot wouldn't find him or something, but that kind of didn't work out.
As far as staying away from like everybody and thinking that nothing would bother us, that is a complete lie. It had to been like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. There was something relatively large that kept on messing with our tent. And I guess Jeff, he has recordings of rustling around our tent, and off to the side where my tent was facing towards one of the abandoned cabins. There was something large and fuzzy rubbing against my tent.
Yeah, if anything, Travis is either further away from the camp, the general camp, than Jeff was. Although, you know, it's like if you're out by the orbit of Pluto, what's the difference? But, yeah, they weren't anywhere near where the rest of the people were, and they were getting messed with. We already documented that last year. Jeff got like 8 or 10 audio captures about every 15 minutes all night long. There was something messing with the tent. And the only time there was a break was between like 4 and, was it 4:30 or 4:40 in the morning when Shane got up to take a whiz and saw one. That was the only time. They weren't messing around with you guys' tents over there.
Yeah. It was kind of a very uneasy feeling, besides the fact that I had that high-powered flashlight, and every time I turned it on, it just went silent. Like nothing was there.
Yeah, and then you and Jeff took that walk at midnight up to where the standing stones were and did your own little ghost research with your EM meter there. And you did an interesting ghost experiment with a beer.
Oh, yeah. I asked if any of them wanted a beer, and the EMF reader spiked all the way up, and there was no way, no power up there for that to spike that high.
Interesting timing too, because you actually like went, anybody want a beer? And you went and opened it, and the meter went and spiked.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think we've got that on video. I'll dig around if we've got that old video from Jeff. I'll show you guys. But so yeah, the first time up there, we found a few tracks, and we had definite boogers messing around at the camp at night. And then this time when we were up there, you had a couple different things happen. One was Friday night. You and who was it, Galen, that went up to the old abandoned hunting shack in the other valley over there?
Yeah. So we were hiking up there, and they were like, oh, yeah, just make sure you be careful. So we just walked all the way up there. And keep in mind, this was pitch black. But yet, at the same time, there was other people that were not a part of the research team that were just down there camping in a little, like, RV camper van-looking thing. And, well, I guess the light off of their vehicle kept on reflecting off of this thing that kept on standing up and crouching down and then standing back up. And I tried getting Michael to see it, and we both were like staring at it for like a good 20 minutes before I turned around to try to get somebody else's attention. And we turned back around, and the thing was not there.
So who was it that was with you that saw this? Was it Galen or Michael?
Galen was there. He was standing right next to me, and then Michael was with the thermal reader. He couldn't pick up anything because it was too far away. So,
We'll have to get his input on this. If I remember right, he was telling me about this, and he did manage to actually get like a faint image, but by then it was crouched down. So it was just kind of a glowing blob, and you couldn't really see any detail.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I didn't realize that there was all three of you there. Did Galen actually get to see it, or didn't he catch sight?
I know his... Wasn't Galen the one with the dog?
Yeah.
Okay, I know his dog did not want to go anywhere down that hill. Like, at all.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about, you were standing up by the shack when you saw this thing. Which side of the shack were you on? If you were standing by on the side of it with the door, were you on the right side of the shack or the left side of the shack?
I was on, I think, the right side. Pretty sure the right side.
So closer toward where the hill rises up and then drops back down to where the megalith is. So if you're looking down there, you're seeing that whole stand of pine trees that we avoid at night because the Bigfoot like to prowl around in there.
Yeah.
And that's where you saw it.
Yeah, it was just really creepy because
yeah.
At first I thought my eyes were messing with me until Michael got I guess the thermal reading on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, he must have had his hands full watching that lone camper down there, man. I wonder what happened to those guys that night. I hope they were okay.
Oh, no. So apparently somebody was telling me that they left around 4 o'clock in the morning. Literally. Did not stop. Did not, like, take the corner slowly. They just left.
So, like, kind of like floored it out of there as fast as they could at 4 in the morning?
Yeah, basically something was fucking with their camper. Sorry, but yeah.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but it is kind of peculiar to break camp and go peeling out of there at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Being that nothing around there would be open for many hours yet.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just the thought of that, I mean...
I know, I mean, it's creepy enough camping in Coloma, but that little back valley back there? No way.
Yeah. And that's where I caught that smell. That smelled like a cross between wet dog and feces. Horrible. Something had the worst diarrhea in the world mixed with wet dog.
Now, did you smell that when you were coming back down from seeing that whatever it was popping up and down in the bushes? Or in the...
You know, that's the weird part. I didn't smell it then when we were all walking back down the hill because I told them it was like a shorter way back to the camp, and I didn't smell it then. But when I walked back the next day over by myself, oh, the whole entire area just reeked of it.
Huh. Well, was this after the camper left? Maybe because they got the you-know-what scared out of them, and that's what you were smelling? No, when you were telling me this earlier, it sounded like you actually heard something paralleling you when you were walking around over there, too.
Well, okay, so you know where after you walk down the hill and you turn towards that one area, how it opens up where I found that first footprint the first time we went up there?
Yep.
Okay, that smell was coming down from the hill, but it was like following me around. Like,
yeah, that's where that pine thicket is. They could stay right in there and be close to you, and you wouldn't be able to see them.
Yeah.
They're stinky. And they want to be. They're big stinkies. We had a stinky one up in the Sapphire Mountains the 2 nights after that. That he was very insistent we leave camp, but you guys will hear about that in upcoming episodes. So anyway, the first time you were there was pretty scary, and you had some stuff happen this time. Now, the other thing is I was there with you on this one. In the morning when it was raining, we got underneath Camp Helena's tarp and we were having coffee. And I had my back to the big rock pile next to where we were camped, and you were looking at it. And while you were looking, I heard this thump sound. And you sort of your eyes got big and your mouth dropped open. And you said, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not turned that way." What, do you hear it? Yeah. What was it? Well, I saw a rock come flying down from the top of the rock pile and hit Kevin's tent. And I was like, what?
Yeah, and there was I made sure everybody was down in the camp area. So there was no one up there.
And the
Yeah.
campers in the next valley over, remember, had peeled out at 4 a.m., so
Yeah.
they weren't there.
So it was, at first I thought, oh, maybe it could have been like a tree branch, but the angle of it, how it came down, was not a tree branch. It was a rock flying.
Right. Kevin was in the tent sleeping, and he did hear it, and he thought somebody walked by and punched his tent.
Yeah.
And, you know, his tent was a good probably 20, 30 feet at least from the base of that big rock pile. So in order for something to be up out of sight where we couldn't see it from where we were at in Lob and Rock, it had to be quite a ways back up that rock pile.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yep. And of course, you also, like you mentioned, you had found tracks there before, and you were over in that tent over on the other side when that got messed with. You and Jeff had to put up with that all night. You were with him while he was walking up the trail to the standing stones, and you guys got the accidental video of the Bigfoot standing about 10 feet off the trail looking at you. We got the eye
Yeah.
shot.
I kind of wish I had my high-powered flashlight too, because that would have been it. Like, that would have got everything.
Yeah, no kidding. That thing you could spot anti-aircraft guns in World War II with that thing. It was ridiculous. Hey, look, the bombers are coming over. They're only 2 miles up. You can see them perfect. I remember you doing that because he was literally on the mountaintop quite a ways away from us. So a whole bunch of buildings collapsed, old log cabins and trees and stuff in between. And he just shined the flashlight straight up. And you could see it clear as day from the camp. It was like the bat signal going off or something.
Yeah, I definitely did love that thing.
It worked good for that. It's too bad you didn't have it with you now. You need to get another one of those super high-powered searchlights.
Yeah, surprisingly, they're only like $30.
There you go. Money well spent. Well, did you have anything else happen to you on this trip up there that you wanted to talk about, or any impressions of it?
No, besides Michael needs to stop knocking on the trees when we're walking around by ourselves.
Yeah, Kevin got pretty mad about that.
Yeah. He did it again when we walked up there again and started walking towards apparently where those graves were at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was doing that knocking thing up there by messing around with tree structures sort of that were leaning over onto each other. He kept on like moving them and it was clear as day. You can hear it knock against the tree when he was moving them. So I was like, dude, you probably should not be doing that. Pretty sure Duke told you not to do that.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I did. I will have to chastise him for that. Kevin got pretty upset as soon as he heard a wood knock. He yelled, "Whoever the hell is doing that, quit it!"
Yeah.
It was, hunting behavior, knocking on wood. Let's signal them that come into town and hunt us. No, let's not do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was probably one of the reasons why it started really smelling really bad when we were walking back.
Yeah. Well, we had them actually would knock at us before. The last time we were there, I was there with Shane the day before you guys showed up. It was just the two of us. And we got up in the morning, and I walked over to the edge of town and came back again. And while I was walking toward him, he was messing around with the battery on the car, which was having problems. And from that hidden valley back there where those campers got scared out of, we heard two wood knocks. Clear as day. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You were the only two people there.
Yeah. No. Don't want to crawl, walk up in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't recommend wandering around there by yourself, other than the middle of the day, and probably not the best idea then either. But looking forward to try and do another expedition here yet this fall, and of course, if I can pull that off, I'll be dragging Travis with, so you guys are likely to be hearing from him again. And I appreciate you came with, and I always appreciate your help out there in the field looking for stuff. Travis, whose squatching nickname is Creature, is very observant. He tends to spot things that other people miss from quite a distance away. So it's great to have him with, wandering around out there in the woods looking for anomalies, because he's one of those people that does tend to spot them. So thanks for your help on that, and thanks for showing up and being with the Montana Bigfoot team up there in Coloma weekend before last, Travis.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And also thanks, of course, for coming on the show and sharing your experiences with everyone out there.
Yeah, well, I hope to do this again.
Hope to have you out there again. Like I said, you're in the plus column. It's great to have somebody else out there that's mobile and observant and isn't going to get mugged by a furious grizzly most of the time. All right. Thanks for coming on the show. Next up, we've got Michael Matt coming up, who's going to talk about his experiences in Coloma. And then he was with us up in the Sapphire Mountains. So we'll segue up to where we went for the second stop on the expedition, Hidden Valley, where we had Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, more Bigfoot going on. And so with that, let's bring Michael on.